As we're closing out our series on love today, talking about the different ways in which God gives us to love, I want to tell you about a movie that I love, and that movie is called Rocky 3. I like the whole Rocky series, but I like Rocky 3 a lot. Rocky 3 comes like right after the end of Rocky 2. Rocky has just won the heavyweight boxing championship. He's the heavyweight champion of the world, and he is riding high. He's getting all this publicity. He's getting all of these accolades. He's got all this money that he didn't have before, and Rocky loves all of this attention. And he gets challenged by this boxer named Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, which just keeps this movie keeps getting awesomer, right? And Mr. T absolutely takes Rocky to the woodshed at the beginning of this movie, strips him of his title of heavyweight champion, and just absolutely beats the tar out of him in this boxing match. So Rocky goes to his former nemesis, Apollo Creed, and says, Apollo, I need you to train me. My old trainer has died, and now I need you to train me so that I can challenge Clubber Lang to a rematch and get my title back. And what Apollo does is he says, Rocky, you've gotten spoiled. You've gotten so used to the money. You go train at these fancy gyms. You go train with this, and it's made you soft. This fame, this fortune, this accolades have made you soft. And so Apollo takes Rocky to the other side of the tracks, to his gym, where it's rough and tumble still. And he doesn't have any of these fancy workout routines anymore. He has to work out with like actual weights, and he doesn't run on a treadmill anymore. He has to get out and run actually in the street. And all of this stuff happens. And Apollo forms him back by getting him back to the basics. He relearns the fundamentals of boxing. And when he gets back to the basics and relearns the fundamentals, he's then able to go and, spoiler alert, beat Clubber Lang at the end of the movie to reclaim his title. And I'm telling you about Rocky 3 because it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's like, if you like boxing. If you hate boxing, maybe give it a pass. But I'm telling you about Rocky 3 because I believe that message of getting back to the basics and relearning the fundamentals is important in a lot of areas, right? But especially in the areas of faith. You see, Rocky had gotten distracted by all the accoutrement that comes with being the heavyweight champion of the world, and he forgot the basics of the thing that got him there. It happens all the time, like in other kinds of sports too. You know, it happens in basketball. The basics are what win you games. It happens in faith. So often we get distracted by all of the other stuff that goes along, all of the other fights that we get into, doctrinal disputes, who knows the most about the Bible, who believes the best stuff, who is the most right, that we lose sight of the fundamentals of the faith, the fundamentals of the things that we are supposed to be doing all along. So I think part of the reason I wanted to do this series on love is because love is the fundamentals. Love is the thing that we should be doing. And if, like he says in 1 Corinthians, if we have not love, then all of the rest of it is useless. So today, we're going to hear it straight from Jesus himself. We're in John chapter 15, verses 9 through 17. Here's what he says. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now, remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I've learned from my Father I've made known to you. You do not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. So, what I want for our church in 2025 is to have a positive vision of what we are to be about. So much of what happens these days is a negative vision, especially Christians. We become known for what we are against, right? We are either a Christian who are against, it's just so much of Christianity is being known for what we're against, right? We're either against the liberals or against the conservatives. We're against this person or we're against that person. We're against this doctrine or we're against that doctrine. So much of what we have become known for as people of faith is being against things. But I want us to be for something. I want us to have a positive vision in that we are for something. And the thing that I think God is calling us to be for in 2025 is to be for taking love seriously. I think taking love seriously is the positive vision that God has given our church for the coming year, for the coming season, no matter how long that season is. Taking love seriously. And Jesus gives us this idea of what taking love seriously looks like. So we're just going to break it down, what Jesus says. First of all, what taking love seriously looks like is remaining in his love. That's what he says. Now remain in my love. So, like John Wesley said, one of the things that we are tasked with doing is loving our neighbors and staying in love with God. So remaining in God's love is the first task of taking love seriously. It's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to get sidetracked. There's so many other things that vie for our attention, that vie for our affection. But the first thing that we are called to do is to remain in love with God. So if we're going to take love seriously in 2025, we've got to remain in love with God. The second thing that we've got to do, he says in verse 10, if you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. And so, keeping Christ's commands is the second area in which we can take love seriously in 2025. Obedience is a part of love, right? When you are a child, part of how you show your love to your parents is by obeying your parents. And when you're a parent and your kid tells you that they love you and then they go off and disobey you, you don't feel very loved. I'll tell you that right now. Feel mad. Sorry, Olivia just gave me a look. So, obedience is certainly a sign that we are in love with God. But I think where we get sidetracked is, okay, so we're supposed to be obedient to God. What are we being obedient to? And he clarifies it here. He says, my command is this: love each other as I have loved you. So often, I think, we get confused. We feel like there's this choice that we have to make between loving God and loving other people, right? We have to either choose, do we love God or do we love other people? But Jesus makes it clear. We love God by loving other people, right? I read this guy that wrote this thing on the internet today. I know that's awful. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it. But I read this thing on the internet by this guy this week where he said, we can't love people so much that we love them straight to hell. There's no such thing as that. He said we need to love God so much that we prioritize loving God over loving other people. That ain't it. We don't prioritize God by loving God more than we love other people. We prioritize loving God by loving other people. You don't love other people to hell. You love other people to heaven. And Jesus told us this. My command is this: love each other that I have loved you. And if you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. So there is no choice to be made between prioritizing loving God versus prioritizing loving our neighbors. It's all the same thing. We love God by loving our neighbors, and we love our neighbors by loving God. It's the same thing. He goes on to this. He says, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. And then he goes on to say, you are my friends. So Jesus gave us this example of sacrificial love, where he laid down his life for his friends on the cross and showed us what it meant to be loved. So I think that's the next thing that we can learn about love in 2025, is that love is sacrificial. Sometimes love is going to cost us something. And that's a hard pill to swallow for me. I love to love other people as long as it doesn't cost me anything. I love to love other people as long as I can do it from the safety of my keyboard on the internet. I love to love other people as long as it doesn't make someone else mad with me. But when I love someone else, sometimes it involves sacrifice. Greater love hath no man than this, than he lays down his life for his friends. Jesus led the way in that. He showed us the way by laying down his life for us. And he calls us to that sacrificial love. That love that might cost us something. And in today's climate, love is going to cost us something. And he says in verse 16, you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that whatever you ask in my name, and the Father will give to you. And this is my command: love each other. I love this idea that we don't love God because we just chose to. No, he chose us. He went first. What did we sing? How I love Jesus, because he first loved me. Because he first chose me. And because he loved me, and because he chose me, because he gave me the power to be in his love, I can go and bear fruit and love other people. I can go and be obedient and love my neighbor. So these are the things that we have to reckon with as we take love seriously in 2025. We have to love him. We have to love God first. We have to be obedient in love. We have to love our neighbors. And we have to love as a response to the love that we've been given. And, I skipped one, we have to love sacrificially. So what does that look like in our lives? What does that look like on the ground on a day-to-day basis? There's going to be people in our lives who are forgotten. We had this discussion in Sunday school about what does it look like for people who experience tragedy, but they don't have a church family. They don't have a church home. They don't have these deep connections that we have. It's lonely, y'all. It's lonely when you lose a loved one and you don't have anyone else to come. You don't have a network of people to surround you. So maybe what love looks like in 2025 is intentionally seeking those folks out, intentionally finding the people that aren't connected and then saying, I'm going to be connected to you, whether you like it or not. I'm going to be connected to you. Maybe it means finding the people that are struggling the most, the people who have been rejected, the people who have been told that they're not lovable, the people who have been told that they don't deserve to be here or don't deserve to have rights, and saying, we love you and we stand with you. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's staunchly refusing to get caught up in the division in our nation, the division that says you have to love one group of people and hate another group of people, and saying, I will not do that. I will not hate you. I will not hate the person that I'm being told to hate. I will not. It's just so bad out there. The division is so bad, it's so harsh, it's so destructive. But we're called to be a people who take love seriously. And if we do that, it means we have to stand up against the people in our own tribe that want us to hate others. And also love the people that we're called to love. And that's a hard thing to do. That involves sacrifice. But I skipped verse 11 on purpose because I wanted it to be the last thing I talked about. He said, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. You see, the part of the fruit of taking love seriously is joy. Now, it doesn't mean that taking love seriously is easy, and it doesn't guarantee you constant happiness when we take love seriously. But it does mean that we get joy. Sometimes we have the joy of connecting with someone that we never thought we would get along with, that we never thought, that the world tells us we're supposed to hate, but we meet them, and doggone it, they're a delight. And we love them the way Jesus loves them, and we have a new relationship that the world tells us that shouldn't make sense. And there's joy there. Sometimes the joy is when we live a life of love and we take love seriously, and then something happens to us. We lose a loved one. We experience tragedy. And then the people that we love surround us. And there's joy there. And we get to experience comfort and solidarity in a community of faith and a community of love, and there's joy there. Sometimes the joy is just remaining in the Father's love, having times of sweet prayer, having times of sweet connection where we receive love directly from the Father. And there's joy in the midst of chaotic circumstances. Joy that doesn't make sense, that floods into your spirit because you've been with Jesus that day. Taking love seriously means that we might have sacrifice. Taking love seriously means that we are called to obey. But taking love seriously leads to joy. So I want to ask you today, Who is it that you've been told doesn't belong? And this is across the political spectrum. This kind of teaching ought to stomp on toes on every side. Maybe you've been told that someone who is gay doesn't belong. Maybe you've been told that someone who's transsexual doesn't belong, or someone that has a different skin color than you doesn't belong. God's calling us to sacrificially love those folks. Maybe you've been told that someone with a red MAGA hat doesn't belong, that person can't belong with you. God is calling us to sacrificially love those folks and lay down our lives to call them friends so that people may know the love of Jesus. Maybe you've been told, there's all kinds of ways that our world tries to divide us. Maybe there's all kinds of ways that our world tries to make us circle the wagons around ourselves and the people like us and to keep everybody else out. But that's not the way of Jesus. The way of Jesus says, if you remain in my love, you'll obey my commands, and these are my commands. Love each other as I have loved you. And the way that he loved us is he laid down his life for us. And so he is calling us to lay down our lives for our neighbors, no matter what they look like, no matter what they dress like, no matter what they vote like, no matter what they talk like. It all comes down to, this is my command: love each other. So today, are we willing to take love seriously in 2025? Are we willing to cross the lines, cross the boundaries that the world does not want us to cross in order to love people that we don't want to love? Or are we going to circle the wagons and stay in a safe place where everybody looks the same, everybody acts the same, and we get to just keep being insular? I know what I believe God has called us to do in 2025, and that's to take love seriously. That is a challenge, and it's not without sacrifice, but it's worth it because it brings joy. Let's go to God in prayer. God, so often I take the easy route. I love the people that I already love. I'm already predisposed to love to begin with. I don't even go out and meet anybody that's not like me, much less love them well. But God, we need to get back to the basics. We need to practice the fundamentals of Christianity. And there is nothing more fundamental than love. You gave us this command, this one command, to love one another as you have loved us. And your love for us does not depend on our deserving of it. It doesn't depend on our lifestyle. It doesn't depend on anything. It just depends on you loving us. So God, give us the courage to love each other well, to love our neighbors outside of these walls well, and to defy the expectations that the world has for us, that we would circle the wagons. Give us the power of sacrificial love today. In your name I pray.